Imagine it's Christmas Eve, 1983. The Morrison family is driving through the vast, quiet landscapes of rural Montana. Snowflakes begin to fall, a gentle prelude to the holiday. They're on their way to visit their daughter, filled with the warmth and anticipation that only Christmas can bring. But in these remote parts of the country, the weather can turn in an instant. Suddenly, without warning, the gentle snowfall transforms into a furious blizzard. The wind howls like a hungry wolf, and snow swirls so thick they can't see the road in front of them. Their car hits a patch of black ice, spinning out of control. With a sickening lurch, it slides off the road and plunges into a deep, unforgiving snowbank. They are stranded, far from any town, far from any help. This was 1983. There were no cell phones to call for a tow truck or an ambulance. The temperature outside was plummeting, dropping well below zero. Bill Morrison looked at his wife, Margaret, and their children huddled in the back. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by a chilling realization. This was a life-or-death situation. The cold was a physical presence, seeping through the car doors, through their clothes, and into their bones. As the minutes stretched into an hour, the car grew colder and colder. The engine had died, and with it their only source of heat. They huddled together, sharing body heat, their breath fogging up the windows and then freezing into delicate patterns of frost. Fear was a silent passenger in the car with them. It was in this moment of desperation that they turned to the only hope they had left. They began to pray. Not just quiet, polite prayers, but earnest, heartfelt pleas for protection, for a miracle, for rescue. Margaret, trying to keep their spirits from freezing along with their bodies, had an idea. She suggested they sing hymns. Singing would keep them awake, keep their blood flowing, and most importantly, keep their minds focused on faith instead of fear. And so, in the heart of a raging blizzard, their voices rose. Through the howling wind, you could hear the faint, trembling notes of Silent Night, followed by a hopeful rendition of O Come All Ye Faithful. Their car, buried in a snowdrift, became a tiny, makeshift chapel on that holy night. Nearly 2 hours had passed since they crashed. The storm showed no signs of letting up. Hope, which had flickered so brightly with their songs, was beginning to fade into the endless white of the storm. The cold was making them drowsy, a dangerous sign of hypothermia setting in. Was this how it was going to end? And then, through the thick, swirling curtain of snow, they saw it. A flicker, a glimmer, 2 faint pinpricks of light, slowly growing brighter. Headlights. Someone was coming. Relief washed over them so powerfully it felt like a physical wave of heat. The truck, a sturdy old pickup, pulled up alongside them. A man bundled in a heavy coat and hat got out and trudged through the deep snow to their window. His name was Tom Williams, a local rancher. But the story of how he found them is where this tale moves from a lucky rescue to something truly miraculous. Earlier that evening, Tom had been exactly where anyone would want to be during a blizzard, safe and warm inside his farmhouse, the fireplace crackling. The storm a distant roar outside his sturdy walls. He had no plans to go anywhere. But then, he felt something. A strange, persistent urge, a voice in his head, or maybe a feeling in his gut, telling him to go and check on a remote, seldom-used road a few miles from his property. At first he dismissed it. It was crazy. Why would he leave his warm house to drive into a dangerous storm on a road nobody ever used? It made no sense. He tried to ignore the feeling, putting another log on the fire, turning up the volume on his radio. But the urge didn't go away. In fact, it grew stronger, more insistent, until it was an overwhelming compulsion he couldn't shake. It was a feeling so powerful that he knew, somehow, he had to listen. So, against all logic, Tom Williams pulled on his boots, grabbed his heaviest coat, and told his wife he had to go out for a little while. He got into his trusty pickup truck and drove headfirst into the storm, guided by nothing more than an unexplainable feeling. He drove carefully, his headlights cutting a weak path through the blizzard, heading for that specific, forgotten road. And that's when he saw it, the glint of a reflector, nearly buried in a snowdrift. It was the Morrisons' car. He had found them just in time. The family was shivering uncontrollably, on the verge of succumbing to the severe cold. Tom helped them out of their frozen car and into the warmth of his truck. As they drove back to his farmhouse, the Morrisons learned the true gravity of their situation. The road they had crashed on was so isolated that had Tom not come along, it could have been days, maybe even a week, before another vehicle passed that way. By then, it would have been far too late. Later, sitting in Tom's warm kitchen, sipping hot coffee, the rancher shared his side of the story. He told them he had never, in his entire life, felt such a powerful, inexplicable prompting to do something. He couldn't explain it in any logical way. He just knew, with absolute certainty, that God had sent him. God had heard their prayers and their hymns from inside that frozen car. The Morrisons didn't get to their daughter's house for Christmas that year. Instead, they spent Christmas Eve in the humble farmhouse of a stranger, sharing a simple meal in the warmth and safety of his home. It was a Christmas they would never forget. Together, the two families, one rescued, one the rescuer, gave thanks to God for his miraculous intervention. That night didn't just end with a simple thank you and a goodbye. The incredible rescue forged a lifelong friendship between the Morrison family and Tom Williams. They became like family, their lives forever intertwined by a single, snowy night. Their story became a living testimony, passed down through their families and their community. A powerful reminder that faith is not just a comforting thought, but a real and active force in the world. It shows us that God hears our prayers, even when they are whispered in the most desperate of circumstances. And it teaches us a beautiful lesson. That help often arrives in the most unexpected ways from the most unexpected people. Sometimes God's angels don't arrive with wings and halos. Sometimes they arrive in a pickup truck on a snowy Christmas Eve. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories of faith and hope. We'll see you in the next video.